If you're watching, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why I'm quiet. Because I was kind of hoping that people would be able to sign in and we'd be able to see them. But that's not the case. I see myself on YouTube. Don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why I'm quiet. Because I was kind of hoping that people would be able to sign in and we'd be able to see them. But that's not the case. Okay, so it says there is one viewer. I'm guessing that's John Martin. There's 2 viewers now. I hope you're watching on the Google Plus, not on YouTube, because YouTube is not live. Exactly. YouTube has a little bit of lag. And if you are, can you send me on Facebook your Google username so I can add you to the conversation? Oh, hey.
Excuse my appearance.
No, excuse mine.
Yeah, but I look a lot more frazzled, and I've got a baby next to me who's decided he doesn't want to sleep anymore.
So something is working. I have 2 other people that are trying to get in here.
I can watch the showcase easy.
I got 1 person already in. Hold on a second.
Which is probably me. Excuse my appearance.
No, excuse mine.
Yeah, but I look a lot more frazzled, and I've got a baby next to me who's decided.
I have 2 other people that are trying to get in. You want to mute the YouTube?
I can watch the showcase easy.
What's the showcase? I can see you and talk to you.
Mute.
I think this goes into YouTube as like a archival thing, but like I think the actual conversation needs to take place within this screen in Google Chat, in Google Hangouts. So I just got somebody else that's invited that may join right now.
Okay, so I figured out that if I was watching the showcase and doing the Hangouts, I was getting that like feedback. So I muted the showcase. So hopefully we won't get weird feedback again.
Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, perfect.
So please go to sleep.
Okay, so you can see the chat. Hold on a second. I have somebody. So Google is making this really slightly non-intuitive. It's good to figure it out. So it looks like people are commenting on the YouTube. Let me at least log in and keep it open. And mute it. So we might be able to actually get started in a second with like real questions. So Google is making this really slightly non-intuitive. It's good to figure it out.
Everybody.
Is that you, John?
It is. Hello.
Hey, and there's Maylene right there too. And you can type, Maylene, right? Can everyone type? Excellent. So let's take one question by turns. I think with 3 people we can get started. And I think John was earlier, even though he didn't sign in. So we'll start with John, then with Ashley, and then with Maylene, and then we'll go around. So John, you want to get us started with the first question?
Sure. Sorry, computer's being cooperative.
You typing it?
I wasn't sure what I should do. Sorry, I'm.
Sorry. So I guess even before we start with questions, I was just thinking, I just want to make sure everybody knows that there's 2 things to talk about here. One is the income-based repayment plan, which is lowering your monthly payments so that they more or less match what your income. It does lower it substantially. Even for somebody like me, I'm not going to say what my salary is, but I'm somewhere in between 50 and 100. And within that tax bracket, I was able to lower my payments every month substantially. And the second part of this is, of course, the loan forgiveness program, which doesn't mean that you'll be forgiven right away. It means you will make 120 payments, even lowered payments with your income-based repayment plan. And once a month, you cannot make them all at once. It has to be 120 months or 10 years. And then you will get the debt wiped out. There are some tax questions that came up, and we can answer those if you didn't see the thread, the full conversation with H. Morgan. There were some useful links there. So that's the basic premise of what it is that I'm doing, the sort of two programs. So if you have any questions about those, I hope that you started trying to do some of this process yourself. There are some warnings, some things to watch out for. I can come back a little later, but they may come up actually in the questions. There's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do this. So unless you guys want me to talk about that directly right away.
That would work for me, but whatever other people want.
Okay, so so Maylene just posted one question. So I'll get to that question, Maylene. I'll get to that question in a second. Let me start then by Maylene's question is, would you mind saying how you went through the switch to income-based repayment? I am with 3 different services, so it's pretty confusing. So I'll get to that in a second. I'm also with 2 services, or was. And actually, this other thing, the warnings that I have are kind of linked to that. So you have, there's 2 kinds of loans that you can take. Well, depends on how you think about them. There's unsubsidized and subsidized, right? But those 2 categories are actually not relevant. The categories that are relevant here is the direct and indirect loans. So those need to be consolidated with FedLoan, with the federal government. Those 2 categories. But they cannot be consolidated together. So this is really important. And if you don't want to end up paying more than you need to, you have to consolidate the direct ones first with them. So, and then the indirect ones. So the way that works is actually, and Maylene, this is useful, they will actually consolidate those for you. You just tell them where they are, and and they will do that consolidation for you. You have to do 2 things. One is submit that form verifying that your university is a 501c, has a 501c exception. So that's not all universities in the United States. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most. You just have to get confirmation from your university that it is a 501c, and get them to sign that form that I made a link to on Facebook. And then you send it to the FedLoan people. And they will consolidate your loans for you in the process of approving you for this thing. But you have to talk to them on the phone in order to get that done, to make sure that they understand that you have several providers. So you will be in several conversations with them on the phone. Now, I did the IRB. Now, going back directly to Maylene's question. By the way, if you don't do it this way, you'll end up paying more because they will just not do anything retroactive. The reason why you are separating between direct and indirect is because direct actually is retroactive, and indirect not retroactive. So
if you have been making your payments on time for an X number of years, at least the direct ones, it will count, as far as I understand, what you paid already will count towards your 10 years. But that does not apply to the indirect ones, which you will have to start paying those 120 payments from the moment that you are approved for those loans. So I, of course, didn't know about the forgiveness loan until much after I had done the IRB, the income-based IBR. I'm thinking you might be able to do them twice together, but they're definitely different processes. Now, the thing is that all your service providers right now, Maylene, they offer their own mechanisms for doing IBR. So, because I had two service providers, and I had to do different IBRs with both of them. Interestingly enough, the IBR for the consolidation of the government, it looks like they're all using the same formula, because once I consolidated with the government, I'm paying the same amount with the government. The government did not increase or reduce my monthly payments. So whatever work I had done for the IBR, it was already, I didn't have to redo it. So I'm guessing, because I did this process, but I'm guessing if you do go ahead and do the consolidation with FedLoan first, and then you will just only have to do one IBR process rather than two like I did, and you have three, right? So that would make it more complicated. So I'm guessing this is something to talk about with the FedLoan people. If you could then consolidate with them first and then do the IBR with them, because that would make your life way easier. So that's the answer to that question. Any other questions? You're welcome. For those watching on YouTube, Maylene just said thanks. Yes, IBR takes into consideration the family income. No, I know, actually, I'm sorry. You married into money. Well, yeah. Is that going to be on YouTube? I'm gonna try to keep it. I'm gonna try to keep my jokes to a minimum. Yes, Ashley asks if your IBR income-based repayment plan take into consideration your spouse's salary. Yes, it does, but it also takes into consideration dependents. So it is very similar to the process for taxes. It is it's going to take a look at a series of factors very similar to the way that the IRS takes account of several factors to figure out more or less what is a fair amount for you to pay for every month. They are really, really invested in making it very doable for you. So that is, I was able to experience that with them because there was working with my individuals, not with FedLoan, because I was at that point working with my individual service providers. There was a back and forth in the beginning where I was like, I can't pay that, and they were willing to listen to me and said they just want those payments to come in. I'm guessing because they have a lot of defaults, so they're just trying to minimize those defaults. So John Martin says that he's calculated that in his own income-based repayment plan, he's been capped at 13.5 of his discretionary income. So that sounds about right for me. That's more or less what I'm a little bit higher for me, but like 15. I wonder if YouTube captures the group chat. Probably not. All right. Hold on a second. Let me look at my Facebook because it looks like some people are trying to contact me there. Okay. No, we're good. All right. So, any other questions? The important thing is for you to start communication with the FedLoan people right away on the phone. And that doesn't stop you actually from starting to fill out that process and trying to get somebody in your university to sign for you, verifying that you are that the university is a 501c. I got my head of HR to do it, but she didn't know about this program. It was really interesting. This is not something they're like informing their employees about. Which now I'm trying to work with our head of HR, which is Ashley's head of HR too. So that all new employees probably coming in with similar backgrounds know about this. But the idea is that, and I confirm this with others, is that usually that information or the proof that you're a 501c is to be found in the realm of the people in charge of finding money for your university, donations and grants and funds, because they're the ones who are actually interested in always claiming nonprofit status in order for tax purposes. So they usually have a web page. Columbia definitely does have a web page where it says very clearly that Columbia is a 501c. So you might need to present that information to your head of HR to get that person to sign off on it. So I have a question from Ashley here. Do you have to put the application in now before you have the 120 payments completed? I heard about this form before. I didn't realize it would apply to me in our current organization. Yes, you have to put in the application as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Because of what I said about the direct and indirect loans. Even though the direct loans are retroactive, the indirect loans are not. So the sooner you put in this application, the less payments you're going to have to make. So like do it yesterday. Don't wait. And remember in what order. Do direct first, and then indirect. Once you have been approved for direct, I'm in that second stage right now. Once I've been approved for direct, now I'm reconnecting back to the FedLoan people and having conversations about consolidating the indirect loans. So that I don't have to, so that you can separate those two terms.
The FedLoan, can you hear me, by the way? So the FedLoan people, is that the servicer that you're using in order to do this income-based program? Like, do all of the loans get switched to them?
So they just absorbed the income-based repayment plan that I had already dealt with the other people. I'm guessing every year you have to renew that, by the way. You have to give proof of income every year. So that's something you're committing to do for the next 10 years, is just every year going as if it was taxes. I had already done it for my service providers before I consolidated with FedLoan. So it just carried over, like auto-magically. They didn't ask me to redo it for them. But I'm guessing that they're going to eventually, when the expiration date on that year happens, they're going to probably ask me to do their income-based repayment. But I don't have a relationship now anymore with the other servers providers. They're like zero debt with them. They're paid off, and like I'm just not dealing with them anymore.
Okay.
And FedLoan is the government.
Okay. So was FedLoan one of your servicers before, and so you called them up and they knew who you were, or?
No, they know who you were because they all have to report to the government through your social. They have your information through Social Security.
Okay.
I mean, they knew everything about me. This is the government. So, and like I said, a lot of these things happen like automatically that I did not expect that to be so efficient. And let me see, I have a question here. Also, Maylin put a link, a very useful link to like a website that allows you to check if your organization is a 501c. And Ashley has a question here. When you do a direct loan consolidation, it's like a regular loan consolidation, meaning you get a new loan that is the total of the all consolidation? Yes. When you do the consolidation, it is like a regular consolidation loan in which you just get the total of all of those grouped in one place. and the consolidator is the government. So actually, second part question was, is the loan provided for consolidation the government or a private bank? No, the government will consolidate. Well, FedLoan looks like it is an affiliate of the government or some. I don't actually know if this is taxpayers paying for those employees, but it is definitely in representation of the government, as far as I can see. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But they definitely not a private bank. That seems evident. Let me Wikipedia FedLoan. Hold on a second. Just going to answer this question. No Wikipedia entry, but it an article saying FedLoan servicing the worst student loan servicer. It is owned by the U.S. government. So the U.S. government runs the worst loan service provider, but it is the one that's going to forgive you. So can't be that bad. I'm pretty sure that the other private companies won't forgive you. So let me see. When you do a direct loan, another question. Okay, that was the same question. Any other questions? Pennsylvania higher education. Hold on a second. Yes. So it looks like it's actually called Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, aka FedLoan Servicing. And it was established in 2009 to support the U.S. Department of Education's ability to service student loans owned by the federal government. So the interesting thing is that the government can consolidate your loans. And that is the reason why you can get forgiven. I'm looking at the documentation at studentaid.gov, and it says that the reconciliation comes from the U.S. Department of Education. Yes, so in this Wikipedia article that John sent, that seems to be evident. Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency. So there were some questions about taxes. I encourage you to go to the Facebook link. There were some resources there. At first, there was a suspicion that you would have to pay a bunch of back taxes for whatever you ended up owing, because it would count as profit. But then somebody else posted that that's not really applicable for this particular loan forgiveness program. But that's something that I'm not taking any risks for. So the next time that I talk to FedLoan, I'm going to ask them. But I don't have the answer yet. Of course, I encourage you to also, when you talk to your FedLoan folks, to ask them about the taxes. So one of the reasons why it's convenient to have more people doing this rather than just me and a couple other people that I know is that the more of us doing this kind of thing, the more we can help each other kind of answer questions and if any of us makes mistakes, because apparently they make it so. I don't know if you saw on the Facebook page, people have been, just with small gaps in the information have made mistakes that had cost them like a lot of money lost for not knowing this little bit of information or this other little bit of information. So the more of us doing it at the same time, the more we can help each other avoid the traps and their lack of interest in actually forgiving us for these loans. Yes, so Milena, so it sounds like the step number 1 is to call FedLoan and they'll be able to figure out based on your records what you need to do. Yes, but that does not stop you from starting to do step number 2, which is moving so that you can move quickly. You can do 2 parallel tracks, which is start that conversation with FedLoan, but also start that conversation at your university to get that paper signed. Because if by the time you get that, as soon as you get that paper signed, you mail it in, you rush it in, the sooner you can get approved for X. And the sooner you can get approved for X, the more money you're saving in the long term. So it's also important to remember that the process for approval coincides with the process for consolidation. So it's like you're not filling out two forms. You're just filling out this one form that is asking for forgiveness. In the act of approving it, they have also agreed to consolidate it, to consolidate your loans. That's why you have to be with them constantly to make sure they don't make a mistake and combine your indirect with direct. So I actually found a good page that does clarify that for this particular forgiveness program, there are no taxes. So that's good. So it's for other things, for other types of forgiveness programs that you will get taxes. How's everybody? Is everybody doing good? It's nice to see you guys.
It's good to see you, Alex.
Nice to see you, Maylene. Last time I ran into you by accident on an airplane. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss your work, Ashley. Come back soon. And how are you, John? Good?
Yeah, doing great. Sorry, there's a lot of noise, so I muted my microphone. But
No,
yeah,
that's
this is very, very helpful. Thank you.
All right, so I think we more or less covered what I know so far. I mean, the most important thing for me was to warn you about not combining the retroactive with the non-retroactive, because they will be happy to make you pay for everything not retroactive. They would love to do. So let everybody get started, and and I'm gonna continue. I'm in the middle of this, so I'm gonna continue. And as we continue, if you learn anything, share it with us. On Facebook, we can use the Facebook thread, and all of our names are there on Facebook, so we can always go back to that. All right. Good luck, guys.
Thanks so much, Alex.
You're welcome.